That's an alert right there. What that red circle means is that this guy has now dwelled in this particular aisle beyond the period of time that this retailer is comfortable with. And that alert says to somebody in customer service, go send somebody now.
And the most peculiar thing was we based our scenario on the simultaneous attacks on the underground and mainline station. So we had to suddenly switch an exercise from fictional to real.
And since you don't know much about this company tonight, I hope by next month you'll know more about this company which is involved in a fraudulent scandal where it defrauded investors up to $60 million, involved with American and Israeli intelligence, and I hope I have all the documents here to prove it.
In early 2003, the Montreal transit system signed a video network solutions, in other words, video surveillance contract, which will lead to the installing of software and hardware belonging to a company with very close ties to American intelligence, but more specifically to Israeli intelligence. Prior to this deal, both this firm and its parent company were delisted from NASDAQ. After, the founder and CEO, an ex-Israeli intelligence officer of its parent company, was charged with defrauding investors to the tune of $57 million and is currently awaiting extradition from Namibia, Africa, to face trial in the United States. This company, which runs much of the wiretapping services for U.S. law enforcement, was reported in late 2001 in a Fox News report to have been penetrated by Israeli crime syndicates and Israeli military intelligence, possibly fooling U.S. criminal investigations, which may have resulted in the deaths of several informants. This company was also involved in a similar video surveillance arrangement with the London Underground transit system a year prior to the London bombings. Over 2 years have passed. Until this day, Verint and the British authorities have still failed to provide video footage of the alleged bombers boarding trains from their platforms. When we confronted the City Council of Montreal in early 2007, we were shocked to see that the Director of Security for the Montreal Transit System had practically no knowledge of this company being involved in video surveillance in the Montreal Underground Transport System. Tonight, you will learn more details about this suspicious contract involving the company Verint. Hello, my name is Michael Pengway. I'm a local political activist here from Montreal and also National Vice President of the Canadian Action Party, which was founded by former Defense Minister and Transport Minister, the Honorable Paul Hellyer, and I'm also a 9/11 Truth activist. I wish to talk about a video surveillance contract that the City of Montreal signed in about 2003 with a company with connections with American intelligence and more specifically Israeli intelligence. How I learned about this contract? Well, in January 2007, a friend of mine came to see me and showed me an article that appeared in the Montreal Metro paper. It's a paper that's distributed freely in the Metro system here in Montreal, and the article was entitled "Souriez, vous êtes filmé." Smile, you're being filmed. And it spoke about a company called Verint, an American company, which was being engaged for video surveillance with the Montreal transit system. So immediately I went home to do some research about this company, see what it was all about. And I was quite shocked to learn exactly what I said, that this company was tied to Israeli and American intelligence, but more importantly that the parent company of Verint, Converse Technology, its CEO and founder, Jacob Alexander, who's an ex-Israeli intelligence officer, and a few of his associates were being charged for mail fraud, securities fraud, wire fraud, and also for defrauding investors to a tune of $57 million. As a result, both Converse and Verint have been delisted from NASDAQ. Then I learned that the U.S. Justice Department, in the wake of 9/11, uncovered the largest espionage ring inside the United States involving Israelis and their direct ties to criminal intelligence and military services. For example, I learned about a U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency memo dated June 6, 2001, which connected spies to efforts to foil investigations into Israeli organized crime activity involving the importation of the drug ecstasy. Now, this was even further corroborated by a report from Fox News in December 2001, and also by an article by Charles R. Smith of Newsmax. And Charles R. Smith, for example, states that most of the wiretapping done by U.S. law enforcement is done through a company called Converse, the parent company of Verint. But more specifically, it's Converse's subsidiary, Converse Info Systems, which is now called Verint Systems. And what he found was that there was one situation where the U.S. law enforcement investigations had been hampered because Converse's info systems, their technology had been penetrated by Israeli crime syndicates and Israeli intelligence services, and possibly this foiled their investigations and even sacrificed the lives of several informants. Now, this also was been corroborated by some reports by Le Monde and Reuters, which both revealed that a part of a large Israeli spy ring was trailing the alleged 9/11 hijackers prior to 9/11. In one case, they were living a few hundred feet from the alleged 9/11 lead hijacker, Mohammed Atta. Now, this may help explain how Israel, among other countries, had forewarned the Bush administration about an imminent attack upon Lower Manhattan. So, obviously, my friends and I were extremely shocked learning about this. So in early 2007, it was March 2007, we decided to confront the Montreal City Council and asked Monsieur Claude Dauphin, who was then the director for security of the Montreal Transit System, for more information about this company. And Mr. Dauphin, for those who don't know, was a principal aide for Paul Martin, the former Prime Minister of Canada. He was a principal aide for Quebec here in the province of Quebec. And Mr. Dauphin, we were quite surprised and shocked, rather, that Mr. Dauphin and his successor, Mr. Trudel, had practically no knowledge of this company, its shady history, despite Mr. Dauphin being quoted on Verint's own website about this video surveillance contract in the Montreal Transit System, and also despite his own explicit comments in a Radio-Canada interview dated August 2005, where he spoke in very explicit detail about 1,200 cameras being installed in the Montreal Underground, on the platforms, near the entrances, and so forth.
Monsieur Dauphin, tout d'abord, où seront installées ces caméras?